Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. One of the characteristics of an unfair, unjust person or entity is when they declare that there is a set of rules for all of us, but they do not fall under those. Or if they can break it, nobody else can break the rules. So that is, I'm going to give you an example here. The United States right now is crying us a river that I really don't give up, to be honest with you, because they are partly responsible for the BS that's happening right now in Belarus. And what's happening over there? The Russians will deploy in June tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. There was no plan for this as much as we know, unless the BS in Ukraine happened. I know the Russians invaded unprovoked. They invade over there without being any provocation whatsoever because they're evil. But then the Americans provided weapons to Ukraine and said we are not involved. Provided everything, and will provide everything, meaning from howitzers to armored vehicles, tanks, will provide airplanes, training, money, sanctions, what else? Intelligence, command, everything, but not military. Even they provided long-range missile systems, including Patriot, defense systems, and so HIMARS and so on. The Russians said, this will escalate and we will respond. Bah, bah, bah. That's what they did. Also in December 2021, remember when the Russian says, okay, this is the list of our concerns. Let's sit down and solve it somehow. Da, da, da. So therefore, Russia, unprovoked, attacked Ukraine, the sovereign country of Ukraine. And Russia is fighting Ukraine, in Ukraine, not US and other 40 other states. No, just Ukraine. And Ukraine resists. All right, now what happened? The Americans right now are crying and say, you can't put nuclear weapons in Belarus. What did I say at the beginning of this video? How many do you have in Europe, United States? It's not about me, it's about you. How many do you have deployed in countries in Europe? Let's change the subject, and by the way, we're not equal. That's the answer. That means you're not just, you're not fair. If you can do things, and if someone else does one fraction of what you're doing, and you're already screaming bloody murder. It's one country, Belarus. In how many countries does United States have nuclear weapons deployed? I will give you the list right now. First, we're going to look at an article coming from Ukrainska Pravda, where we're going to hear some Americans crying and pointing fingers without evidence why Russia is endangering the peace. But they did not endanger the peace with their rockets in Europe, their rockets in countries. All right, so let's get going with this bullshit. So, new voice of Ukraine. Today, May 25, 2023, US condemns Russia's deploying nuclear weapons to Belarus. And Russia doesn't give a fuck. I guarantee you that. All right? Well, why do you condemn that? Well, because we can and you are not allowed to, because we are not equal. And I quote Mr. Miller. I will not talk about any facts or assessments that we may have. End quote, said Miller. I will say that we strongly condemn this agreement. It is another example of irresponsible behavior that we observed from the Russian Federation. Who talks like this? I think your behavior was irresponsible. Someone who talks like this, it's either a superior, a teacher, a master, a parent. And the other one obviously is in the inferior position. Is that the case here? Well, that's what Russia always claimed. We want to be treated equal. We don't want to be at the table like France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, when they show up, Canada, they're at the table with the United States, but they're not at the table. You know what I mean? They are over there because these guys allow them to sit there and listen. That's all they need to do. And raise their hand when the United States says, we're going to do this. Who's for it? And they all have to be for it. Russia did not want to be in that position. Why would they want? Would you want to be in that position? Why would you want to be in that position? So already these guys say, we can, and you are irresponsible. Well, if my actions are irresponsible, why are your actions responsible? Why do you call yourself responsible? Weren't you the one who actually used atomic bombs to kill civilians, to cities? So who's more responsible so far? Then shut up, right? Isn't this the way you would talk with someone? I mean, he already raped 2 women, and he's telling you that you might do that, and you are irresponsible for not even touching anybody or moving towards someone who's already a rapist. All right, so let's move on. At the same time, he noted that the United States, and I'm quoting, sees no reason to change its approach to the readiness of nuclear forces. If you don't see it, maybe we see it. Can we see it? Are we allowed? Only you are allowed. So let's go and see. Here they tell you that they agreed on the tactical nuclear weapons to be delivered on the territory of Belarus under the Russian command. So let's go to this article, which comes from something very official, as you can see, Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. Proliferation means this, just so you know, because these guys accuse Russia of proliferation now. Proliferation means if I give you weapons or technology, nuclear technology, that means I proliferate it, I give it further, I spread it. But if I still have it in my pocket, but I come in your country, in your house, it doesn't mean that I proliferate it. It's still in my possession. I'm on your territory, but I didn't give it to you. So this is bullshit when they say that. Just so you know, in the future, when you're going to hear this a lot of times already. It's proliferation. Go and read the definition and see what that means. Okay, so let's go back to these guys. Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. Fact sheets or shit. U.S. nuclear weapons in Europe. Okay, so we're gonna go right here. How many? The United States and its NATO allies do not disclose exact figures for its European deployed stockpiles. In 2021, it is estimated that there are 100 US-owned, so there's not Italian-owned or US or British-owned, US-owned nuclear weapons stored in, brace yourselves, 5. So Russia did 20% of what United States did already. And these guys are crying bloody murder, condemn. So in 5 NATO member states across 6 bases, so it's 6 bases. Klein-Brogel in Belgium, Buchel Air Base in Germany, Aviano de' Gherdi Air Base in Italy, Netherlands and Turkey. So you already have it in 5. The weapons are not armed or deployed on aircraft. They are instead kept in WS-3 underground vaults in national air bases. Is that enough? Is that enough for you? I don't know how the Russians intend to bring them and put them on their Iskander ready, but why should I do what you do? Because that if I do only what you do, that means you're in charge. Why should you be the one who dictates how they will be stored, unless there's some regulation? If there's the regulation agreed upon and signed, then the Russians will have to abide by that. But, it's like this. Someone comes, you're at a party, and you have a conversation with someone. And the conversation gets heated, and the person cannot restrain himself and shows lack of control, and punches you in the face one time. Now, you jump and you beat the shit out of that person. The police shows up and says, well, you counterattacked or reacted disproportionately. So you are probably the problem. But then I would ask, I didn't punch. We were talking. So when he punched me one time, he already acted disproportionately, to which I reacted to however I thought it was proportionate to my behavior. He thought that punching me in the face was proportionate to nothing from me. So I decided to punch him and destroy him. My response to that. Why I need to go exactly how much he initiated. The same here. I think Russia should and probably will deploy in other places, like Cuba and Nicaragua are on the list. I have a gut feeling. And guess what? Then we are going to have a real Cuban Missile Crisis, like a real one. Why? Because, sorry to break the news, but the Russians did not deploy nuclear warheads in Cuba. They were not deployed. But, sorry to break the news again, these just people that we're talking about, they had deployed in Italy and in Turkey Jupiter with nuclear warheads ready for Soviet Union. So Soviet Union said, hey, Weasel, take your fucking missiles out. What did they say? Beat it. Did you hear that in 2021? Beat it. We're not going to listen to you. What are you going to do? Well, we're going to do the same thing you do. No, you won't. And they did. And what happened? They made the Americans take the Jupiters out of Turkey. By the way, do you know that story? No, you know only half. Only, you know, from probably most people, not you. I don't know how much you know. Most people know from like 20% of the conversation until 80% of the conversation. That's how much they know. They don't know the 20% of the beginning, the Jupiter missiles in Italy and in Turkey, and they don't know the end, that in 6 months Americans took their missiles out. All right? And the other guys said, okay, we made you do that. That's how it started. We want you to take those out. No, we won't. Okay, we bring ours over there. Okay, we take them out. And I took them out. So think about the Cuban Missile Crisis as an example. So now these guys are crying us a river. And you know what? I'm not happy that they're doing that. I'm angry because these guys, who supposedly are the country of good and fairness and international law, freedom, democracy, and justice for all, remember that? They're like that. That means they think that they are superior than the other ones, that they are in charge. And if I think I'm superior, I can do whatever I want, but you can't, that tells me I expect you to be my subordinate. Based on that, on what? Well, they don't want to be your subordinate. Oh, well, then you have to attack Ukraine unprovoked. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.